Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Now, with the number of out-of-school children above 10 million, despite efforts by the federal government to ensure the number is reduced, experts have raised concerns as to the efficacy of the programs being put in place to bring children back to schools. Now, on this edition of the program, we will look at these programs and also proffer solutions moving forward. And those to join us on the program today, we have Zaliha Lawal. She is a community development practitioner who currently works with Connected Development as an education project manager and the focal person for Follow the Money on SDGs. She is also a Kashim Ibrahim Fellow, and she joins us via Zoom from Kaduna. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today, Zaliha. I think your mic is on mute, but just try and unmute it before we come back to you. But we also have joining us Jeremiah Oseni. He is a development worker, a trained psychologist, and founder of the Begotten Educational Foundation, which aims to improve the standard of education in Nigeria by promoting literacy and advocating for equality, as well as education for children in low-income communities across the country. Again, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Victor.
Fantastic. So kicks out the conversation for us, Jeremiah. Looking at the situation where we are now, we have a lot of, out-of-school children, over 10 million, based on the latest figures released, not too long ago. But in your estimation, despite all of the programs that we have in the country, where do you think we're getting it wrong, and why do we still have this high number?
Okay, first and foremost, thanks for having me, Victor, on your program. And just to say, the 10.5 figure out of school statistic which you have did not come out yesterday. It didn't come out in 2020, as a matter of fact. This is a pre-COVID figure. And permit me to say that, this era which you are, the post-pandemic era of COVID, that figure has greatly increased. And to answer your question directly, I think it's due to low priority on the part of the government to address this issue, to tackle the issue effectively of out of school in Nigeria, and effectively see that those channels in which the children are going out of schools, those reasons that are making the children go out of school are fixed and are properly checked. Currently, as it is right now, those checks are not being put into place. They are not being prioritized as a problem, as a national problem, which the government should solve.
All right, so what do you think we should be doing? I mean, of course, looking at the fact that, all of these are, right before us, so to speak. Now, again, what do you think we should be doing differently?
Yes, simply put, just the way you asked the last question, the first thing should be priority. I think, it is high time we gave preference to these problems, because education is the bedrock to any form of development. Especially here, we're talking about sustainable development. You can't take out education out of it. You can't rule out the efficacy of, the practicability of enrolling children back into school and ensuring that the future generation gets the adequate education they need to actually prosper, to actually make themselves better, to actually develop our nation in the future. So priority should be given to education. Now, in terms of the out-of-school children, we have programs already, yes, which this particular government in inception from 2016 put into place. Some programs, for instance, like the Homegrown school feeding project, for instance, which was geared towards, it had 4 major aims. The first one was to increase school enrollment of children across the nation. But looking at a program such as that today, can we really say that this program has been prioritized by the government, apart from the fact that it made news, it made headlines during the campaign period? Can we really place our hands on facts and figures right now, empirical statistics to say this program has actually enrolled more children back to school?
Well, that question is, perhaps for the general public to, answer, because especially those places where we have people who are benefiting from that program. But let me just hold you there for a bit. Let me quickly go to our guest on Zoom, Zaliha Lawal, who is joining us from Kaduna, again, via Zoom. Zaliha, again, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you now, Zaliha. So let me begin, by asking, we've heard about, some of the interventionist programs, being made by the federal government, in regards to, getting children back to school. But let's look at other programs, so to speak now, maybe, by foreign bodies or even private sector in Nigeria. Are there programs such as this, and how effective have these programs been?
I would say that the federal government has tried out different policies, most especially since we are talking about the out-of-school children in Nigeria. We have programs like the Homegrown Feeding and Health Program. We have the Universal Basic Education Act itself, and also the fund itself. And we have the Almajiri School Program, different beautiful programs, the conditional transfer. But this program have helped to reach children because in its entirety, there's a whole lot of issues with the program. So taking, for instance, the homegrown school feeding programs that ensure that children are fed in school, in school, so they get the required nutrition that needs them to learn and stay in school. But that alone can't keep children in school because data has shown that these children go to school, the enrollment rate is increasing, but the retention and completion hasn't changed. So getting enrolled and staying in school is a different thing. So you have schools that they have no fencing, no gates, there's insecurity. These children are not going to go to school. They go to school, get their means, and they go back. We've seen that from the research we've had and also from interviews with some of these caregivers. So most of this program doesn't really put in place systems thinking, a holistic approach to the issues around out of school children. We have issues around culture and tradition, where some people do not believe that schools are actually children going to schools are actually going to change their lives or make Nigeria better. So we need to really think about the policies and programs that we push out as government and also as people. And you also talk about private organizations and international bodies coming in to support the federal government intervention. We've had programs like BESTA, the conditional cash transfer, which we know that it's also supported by World Bank. But the required change has not been achieved, so to say. Why is this not working? Because also as a country, we've not even had to think about to draft a framework on how we want these children to live the street. So it's saying that we have 10 million, over 10 million out of school children. How do we want to take these children out of school? It's not just going to happen by 2030 because that's the deadline for the SDGs. These are not just going to have. What framework do you have in place to say this quarter we want this number of children to go out of school? In the next quarter, I want to see this number of children. These are the approaches we have to put in place. We have teachers that have the required skills to teach these children. So it's a whole lot of things, not just designing programs like the homeschool feeding, the conditional transfer, whereby these children go to school, they get the money and they go back home. So there are a lot of data showing it, and governments know about it. People see it as private organizations. How can we come in as individuals? How can we come in? So that's things that we really need to look at because I believe that education is everybody's business. We all have stake when it comes to education, and we all have to come together to work to ensure that we provide solutions to our problems, most especially education. And all these children that are out of school, we ensure that they go back to school, they get the required education, and we see improvement in the learning outcomes.
All right. So, I mean, you talked about some of those, what's it called now, limitations, so to speak now, cultural, and religious as well. So that means there is a conversation that needs to be had. There is a partnership that needs to be had as well, apart from the overarching or overreaching policies like you talked about, that government needs to actually look into as well. So let's look at partnerships now, for everybody to be on board. What needs to be done?
Okay, I'll start from individuals as community people. as citizens of Nigeria, what do you have to do to ensure that that child, that neighbor, that child on the street get access to school? So during my fellowship here with the Kashmir Ibrahim Fellowship, I had the opportunity to meet Dele Olojade, and he was explaining, he was telling us the education back then, where all community people, everybody comes together. It was a communal effort when they talk about education. So why can't we have something like that? So and this in my community, we have a government school, and I have the capacity to teach in that school as maybe as my extra curriculum, or maybe as my own give it a way of giving back to the site, right? So why don't I go to the school and ensure that I do that, or I have the skills to monitor, or maybe I pass by and check the school and ensure that all the teachers are in class and they're actually teaching, and they're giving them teacher, and the students are getting the required learning they're supposed to get. That effort as community. As private organizations, what can we do beyond paying lip service to CSR? We know CSR in Nigeria is not compulsory, so to say, because there's not a law stating or mandating organizations, private organizations, to give back to society. But how can we, as people, as private organizations, as government, look at our CSR and also our SDGs? So we know that education is very important, and we want to give. Can private organizations start streamlining their CSR to SDGs? So we have this number of out of school children. These are the strategies to get them back. Right?
All right, so let me hold you there again for a bit. Let me quickly go to our Abuja studio where Jeremiah, is standing by. Jeremiah, still on the issue of partnerships, she made mention of, which actually struck me, the sociocultural, and religious, hindrances or encumbrances that we have, that is actually also contributing to the number of out-of-school children. But in your estimation, your thoughts, how do you think we can partner with people, especially in that space, to ensure that, that encouragement is there for children to go back to the classrooms?
Okay, now, the first thing I would say is understanding. For any program to be successful, for any product to be successful, looking at it from the business angle, you must first of all understand who your target audience are, who your customers are, the needs of your customers, what they really want. So you go back to the drawing board and create or develop your product according to the needs of the people, of your customers. Now, the same thing talking about policies and programs, to get children back to school. We need to know, in terms of partnering, we need to know first and foremost, what is the problem? Going down to the grassroots, dialoguing with community leaders, market women association members, even drivers, parents, and even school teachers. What exactly is the problem, and how can our program address this issue? And let me also add that a particular problem that the Southeast will have may not be the same problem you will have in the North Central or in the Northeast, for instance. Now, when programs are being developed, when initiatives to help children go back to school are being developed, necessary stakeholders must be brought to the table for dialogue, for us to understand what is that peculiar reason why children are dropping out of school in their local environment. So when these things are being put in place, I believe we'll begin to have some better results from all of these programs. Let's say, for instance.
All right, just hold it before you make that that example. I'll just hold it for a minute there. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back for you to continue with those examples. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have our guests joining us via Zoom from Kaduna as well as in our Abuja studio. But, just before we went on the break, Jeremiah from our Abuja studio was trying to talk about policies or how different policies might not, or how policies, might not be a blanket stuff for all of the regions in Nigeria. So, Jeremiah, you were talking about how, or for instances where policies, pretty much differ from one region to the other, if you could continue on that.
Okay, good. So now, I was about to cite an instance of one of the programs which was launched in 2016, which again is the Homegrown School Feeding Program. Now, which I believe it was an initiative that was adopted from Thailand because, of course, in the world right now, they are the ones who they've been operating that particular policy and it's been working for them. Now, but coming down to Nigeria, who were the people who were consulted? You know, who were the stakeholders who were brought to the table? Who are the partners? Now, we have the major partners being the state and the federal government in this particular program. And of course, in the federal, we're having the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, we're having the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of, the Ministry of Education and all of that, right? Then in the state, we're having the commission, we're having the educational parastatal as well. Then, of course, the UBE. Now, adequate attention we're not giving to the farmers in these states who are actually a major stakeholders in the supply chain. Adequate attention we're not giving to them. Adequate attention we're not giving to parents. And of course, even the pupils whom the program was designed for. Now, I believe that for success to happen in any program, partnership with the relevant authorities or partnership with even the beneficiaries should be enforced. So that was actually the instance I was about to cite.
All right, very well. So you think, moving forward, everyone should be brought on the table before such policies are put in place?
Yes, I strongly believe that. I strongly believe that.
All right, very well then. Let me just hold you there again for a bit, and quickly go back to Zaliha, who is joining us again via Zoom. Zaliha, so moving forward now that you have, it seems you both agree on the fact that, the relevant stakeholders, need to be brought to the table, before certain policies are being put in place. That apart now, perhaps is curriculum one of the problems, as to why we have some students running away, perhaps they can't cope, or maybe what other reason can you pinpoint as to why we have a lot of children out of school?
Earlier, the issue around children being out of school. So, have a cultural and traditional. We have the curriculum that you mentioned itself. Our curriculum, when you check it in Nigeria, doesn't fit into reality. And we have issues around even the teachers. So if we upgrade at the teachers ready, at teachers that are going to teach those people skills rather than students. So these are things that we need to to also recruit teachers. We need to look at the landscape of schools that
sorry, Zaliha. Sorry, Zaliha, I'm really finding it difficult to hear you. I'm really finding it difficult to hear you. I think there is a distortion, with your internet. So let me quickly come back to Jeremiah in our Abuja studio. Jeremiah, one of the reasons, well, in my own, thinking, is maybe, the teachers as well, the infrastructure. These, I think, are some of the reasons, as to why perhaps we would have out-of-school children, roaming about. What do you think we can do, to corner such a thing? How do you think we can put it or nip it in the bud?
Okay, you mentioned teachers. Just permit me to say something about that. Now, when you're in a classroom and you're literally bored, you're not being taught the things you should be, the things you're expecting. You feel bored, and of course, you won't have interest in that class. So teachers' training and retraining should be prioritized. That's one of the solutions I'm providing this afternoon. Teachers' training and retraining should be prioritized across school, across the board, both private and in the public education sector in Nigeria. Teachers' training and retraining should be prioritized because some of these children, that is one of the reasons why they also leave school. Because you come to school, most of the teachers are not even there in attendance, especially when it comes to the public school. Another reason is insecurity. Now, within December of 2020 to November of 2021. You know, according to the media, there's a statistics of 824 students who were either adopted or kidnapped across schools in northern Nigeria. Now, some of them have been released. Some of them are still in the messes of their captors. Now, what is happening currently to those children? This is another discouraging factor. The third discouraging factor is we are seeing it almost every day, almost on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. On the TV, on radio, we are hearing them. You know, on attacks, we are hearing attacks on educational facilities. Matthias, sorry, Mr. Victor, it is not rocket science for anybody to know that you run away from where you have danger. You run away from places that are not safe. Nobody will see red fire, red flames up and put their hands inside. Nobody will do that. So children are scared right now, children are scared to go to school because the schools are not safe. Schools are being attacked almost on a daily basis. Learners are being kidnapped from schools. So the solution here is, I think also, priority should be given. And talking about priority, in terms of security and all of that, it will start from the political will. It will start from the political will. For instance, we've been talking about bandit. We've been having them attack schools, even down from primary schools up to university learning facilities. And meaningful Nigerians, concerned citizens, have been beckoning on the government to say, proscribe this group of individuals as terrorists, just so that necessary action, some level of implementation some level of actions can be implemented so as to reduce their efficacy, so as to reduce the attacks on educational facilities. It took a whole long time. It took a whole period of time for that call, to be hacking into, for that call to be granted. And that's one of the example I can cite here when I'm talking about the political will. The political will must be ensured.
All right, very well, Jeremiah Oseni. I have to say thank you for joining us today on the program and sharing your thoughts. You join us from Abuja, our Abuja studio, of course.
Thank you very much, Matthias. The pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me here.
Of course. Well, Zaliha, close the conversation for us. Again, if we could hear you this time around, in terms of, solutions now moving forward, what would you like to see differently?
What I would like to see differently, like you said, I would like to see a positive, a whole approach to education. So once the all relevant stakeholders have been brought to the board and also design our education policies, most especially basic education. Also want to see a review to our curriculum. We want to see that our schools are safe. We want to see strengthened partnership between individuals, between private organizations, and also the government. We want to see that post-secondary schools, post-secondary education is also given priority for after secondary school. Some of the parents do not have the purpose in their children to school because they don't see any difference with the child that attends school and the child that doesn't attend it. I happened to be at Maldives during the last while, and I met some students that were writing that wife and nephew. They couldn't communicate in simple English. They couldn't speak, write, or read English, and they're supposed to have it. And during the engagement, so when so we need to create from school vocational skills for secondary opportunities that makes these children different from those that have not been in school. So that's where we have the cultural shift. People get to see impact, they tend to see difference in learning outcomes, and they're encouraged to send their children. So we need everybody coming on board because education is a business, but individuals, government will, that's political will, private sector organization, international bodies, all coming together to ensure that education,
All right, Zaliha, thank you so much for your thoughts on this, again, I have to say thank you for joining us on the program today and, giving us your perspectives on this very contentious issue. Thanks for joining us via Zoom from Kaduna, Nigeria's northwest region. Well, that's where we are. Hopefully, all of the solutions proffered will be put in place. And of course, the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria will be reduced to the barest minimum. But that's the show today. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. We'll leave you with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Bye for now.
We came with you.
President Olusegun Obasanjo, making it clear to leaders of the PDP that he has retired from politics, kicks off this week's most viewed videos in 5th place.
Politics is the welfare of people. I must not retire from the welfare and well-being of people. Whether in my own community, in my own state, in my own country, anywhere in Africa, or indeed anywhere in the world.
Up next and 4th is the adjournment of Nnamdi Kanu's case real February 16th.
Examine the step-by-step destruction of these camps. Then, like I submitted in court, she will go to the next stage, which is to grant us our prayer too.
3rd spot is taken by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, making open the content of a meeting he had with President Muhammadu Buhari.
I've informed the president of my intention, but I've not informed the Nigerians yet. I'm still consulting. And I have no problem consulting, and I've not set a parameter of limitation.
In 2nd is the full briefing by PDP leaders asking President Buhari to restructure Nigeria's security architecture.
For hitting the ground running with respect to repositioning the PDP into a credible vehicle for rescuing and rebuilding Nigeria, which has been battered by bad economy, insecurity, unemployment, and other social ills by the incompetent and inept APC administration.
While topping the chart is the hiring of Mike Ozekome by Nnamdi Kanu when fresh terrorism charges were leveled against him.